Good morning. I am in XP12-1.0 in the Zibo. So what I'm trying to get myself set up in the cockpit here. Yeah, I guess that's not too bad. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is go through a few aircraft that are in my cockpit. I mean, in my hangar, and kind of go over how well or poorly the EFBs in these cockpits work in VR. So we're in the Zibo. The Zibo probably works as good as any. So if I come up here and I'm using and I have my VR mouse cursor enabled, I have a VR controller too. So if I come over here and one thing I notice about the VR mouse cursor is that there's no kind of tactical feedback, and let me explain what I mean by that. You notice this highlights? With the VR mouse cursor, that doesn't happen for whatever reason. And quite frankly, the Zibo is the best EFB that I have found. So if I go over here and I click on this, so all that is working. And if I go over here, as I come back over this, and I come over something that's active. So over here, there's nothing active. So you see it's an arrow. When I come over something that's active where I can click on it, it will turn to a point, a hand with a point, finger. And so same way as if I go in between, see, in between, that's an arrow. And then I come over here a little bit more, that's a finger. Where different with the VR controller is if I come over here, it just the field is evidently so far that just a little bit and I'm to the next one. So, but same way as like this works. So,
ladies and gentlemen, front flight deck, we'd like to add a welcome board. Anticipate possibly some light bumps or some choppy airs. We climb out as a precaution, keep our flight attendants seated for a few minutes. Make sure we know, what that ride's going to be like before they get up. Also appreciate it if everyone would remain in our seats during that time. Thanks for being with us today.
So both the VR mouse cursor and the VR controller, they both work. Let me check if Avatab. Notice that Avatab is not the normal Avatab. This is custom. The functionality is the same, but it's custom. That's not the normal Avatab you'll see in many EFBs. So that's been done different. So alrighty. So I started with this one because this one is the best of any of them. So let me go. I'm going to go to the Aerobask fleet that I have. So flight config Aerobask. So I'm going to go to the DA50. Start new flight. Excuse me. Okay, my gadgets out of the way that I normally use for move you. Come on, get out of here. Okay, so if I use the VR mouse cursor here, if I go over here, you see it turns to a finger, so that means that I can click on it. So we go ahead and click on it. notice that all I get is the arrow. Remember back in the Zibo that when I was over something that's clickable, it would turn to that pointing finger, just like that. That doesn't happen here at all. None whatsoever. So I can't click on anything because it's not recognizing. I mean, the cursor is on top, okay. The only one that recognizes is that button there. Anything inside is not recognized. So that's with the VR mouse cursor. How about the controller? Notice on the Zibo, everything highlighted, I get nothing. So if I use this, let's see if this works. So the Avatab part works. So let me click on charts. Okay, so the Avatab part works. But this ground operations, nope. Other operations, nope. Sounds, nope. About, nope. So the only thing that actually works on this EFB is Avatab. But it doesn't work with the VR mouse cursor. Nope. And none of that stuff works either. So go to another one. Whoops. All right, same deal. Okay. So you can see that worked to open it up. But I just have the arrow. It doesn't do anything. Doesn't turn to the pointing finger. If I click, get nothing. Now if I use the, whoops, move the cursor out of the way. So the VR controller does work with the Avatab, but for, whoops, get back out of here. But ground operations, other, nothing. Also notice that when I click on this, that VR mouse cursor, the arrow goes away. When I'm holding the trigger down, that goes away. So it goes away if it goes, that's interesting. It goes away if I'm on a place where it should work. And then if I move away where there's where there's nothing that should be clickable, the VR mouse cursor is shown again. That's kind of interesting why it's doing that. Okay. Alrighty, back to another airplane. Whoops. So that was the 62. So the Epic E1000. And I was actually pretty surprised when I found this out. But personally, I don't use them. And I'll explain. And then this one, it's over here. So let me try to use the VR mouse cursor. So if I come up here, you can absolutely see that goes to a pointing finger. So if I click with the left mouse button, that makes that work. But nothing in here works. You don't see the pointing finger ever again. Only on that button there, which basically puts it away. So there's just nothing that's working here. So hello. But you also see so the VR controller works, but also the ground, the option, the sound, about, that doesn't work. So to that EFB, I mean, is only partially working in VR. If you're using a VR mouse cursor, it really doesn't work at all. So, whoops. Got too many controllers. And we'll go to Robin. Robin, I'm not sure if there's anything on EFB in it. Hello. I don't see an EFB in it at all. So that's fine. We'll look at something else. Alrighty, where am I gonna look? Okay, so let's look at the Tolus. And once again, standard def. Once again, I am in XP12-1.0 beta 4. So the Tolus got some changes were made to X-Plane to make their EFB work a little bit better. But as I'll demonstrate, not completely. So if I have the VR mouse cursor, so it used to be before, I forgot what version of X-Plane. It wouldn't, this mouse cursor would go underneath. It wouldn't go up on top. So now it does go up on top. So if I come over here and notice now, when I go underneath that that button there, you notice how it goes from an arrow, it goes to the pointing finger. And but here's the problem I have with pretty much any EFB. In VR, that is a very, very small window. And and the other problem is, especially if I'm using the VR mouse cursor, how do I know where I'm at? I mean, because the VR, that pointy finger, it's not on the surface, it's above it. And I don't know if there's an adjustment for that. I don't know, but it would make it really difficult. So you're supposed to be using, like, I think, let me lean in here. Okay, so there's some really, really small text so I think I'm clicking on the outside box there, but it is so hard to tell, you know, that when I'm there. I keep clicking and I guess I'm not quite where I belong. So let me go over here. Maybe I'm too many. Okay, so maybe that's what it was. But it's just so hard to tell on this, where as opposed to the here, even that isn't easy. And when I even put my controller right on it, no, it doesn't highlight like it does in the, let me see about up here. Yeah, same thing. We're in the Zibo. Notice that if I put my VR controller close to it, it would highlight. It doesn't do that at all. So, so usability in VR is not optimized, not optimal at all. So this all works, and I'm using the VR mouse. But now if I click on the Avatab, notice there's no pointy finger. Because there's no pointy finger, nothing works here. So so there's something different about how, but also notice, like on the Zibo, the Avatab was completely customized, where this is pretty much the default Avatab, and but it doesn't work with the VR mouse cursor. On the other hand, if I use the VR controller, yeah, then it works. So with the VR controller, this thing is completely usable, you know, but with the VR mouse cursor, partly usable. So okay, we'll go someplace else, I think. Let me go look. I want to see what else I got. So I went to Zibo, Aerobask, Tundra. And I'm going to try going to the porter. I can't remember how this worked out. I'm trying to remember if there's an EFB in it or not. I thought there was, but we'll find out. Sure, my fans kick up. Must be pretty close. It's taking some period of time to load. Wow. There we are. Yeah, okay. So let me try to get myself lined up in the seat here. Okay. So here's an example. This is kind of like trying to think. So what is this? Like a 4-inch iPad? I mean, that is small. So we will try to use a VR controller. Nope, got nothing. Nope, absolutely nothing. So go here. Yep, nothing. I can't even feel anything. So we'll go with a VR mouse controller, and this is the porter. So same thing. So notice this. When I go over the icon, cursor goes away. It's gone. So what should happen is it should be a pointy finger, but the cursor's gone, completely gone. I mean, that don't make a whole lot of sense. Over every icon, when I go over the icon, the cursor goes away. Kind of like, really? So since the cursor's away, I'll try to click. Nope, nothing. Absolutely nothing. So I'm at a loss as to what's going on here. Evidently, Zibo has figured out how to make this work, and it works perfectly well with a VR mouse cursor and a VR controller. I would hope that in some short term that we can have all aircraft that attest to have VR support have this part functional. It's clearly not, and quite frankly, I'm not so sure why it's not. If you have one developer, which is basically a freeware developer, have it working, then you would think you could kind of look at what Zibo's doing and do the same thing. I'm just, I don't personally use them. That's fine, because they're just too small. I mean, you look at like it says brightness 100%. I mean, that is some tiny text. I'm certainly glad I'm in a really high-end headset where I could actually read that, because most headsets that aren't as high-end as what I'm using, you wouldn't be able to read that at all. And I have no idea what the text looks like because I can't even get it open to tell. So with either a VR controller or a VR mouse. So yeah, let me go look. I think I got one more I wanna go over. I'm not gonna go over any of the other ones. That one was kind of, I knew that had an EFB in it. The other ones I'm not sure, but I'm not gonna spend time on it right now. So we went over Tolis, Zibo. I'm not gonna go over Laminar. I was gonna do DS Sky Labs is using basically the Avatab, and the Avatab and its current I could do one of them. The Maule. All right, I'm going to do this one. So this has an EFB, but it's basically it's integrated Avatar. So, and this is another one where the VR mouse controller, it works. Excuse me. The VR controller works. But because of how this is done, the VR mouse cursor does not. Now you can notice that the cursor absolutely goes up on top. So it isn't going underneath anymore. It's up on top. But it doesn't do anything. Because you notice that it doesn't change to the pointy finger. I mean, it's like it just doesn't exist. And I think, yeah. So down here, those two buttons, those work. I don't know what they do. Doesn't look like they. If they're doing something, I don't know what it is, because I clicked on them and it didn't work. But any of these icons up here, they don't work. So once again, we have an EFB in this that is partly working, but because there are a reasonably large number of people that don't want to use a VR controller, and that's their choice. But let's have the functionality in that so that if that's their choice, that they get the same functionality as somebody that's using a VR controller. Alrighty, got one more airplane. This one here is not even it doesn't even attest to being VR support. So this is the Gulfstream, the GLF 550. But quite frankly, I'm just, this doesn't even say, and the author has said that it currently doesn't support VR. So let's look at like how that EFB, does it work different? And it does. It doesn't. It is. It's kind of dead to everything. So. Related to VR. Okay, I gotta back up a little bit here to get myself. So this doesn't have a VR config file. At least I couldn't find one. So, and we look over here. Yeah, we got like kind of nothing going on. So if I don't have that working, then of course the VR mouse cursor and but notice something different. This is different. So I'm bringing my cursor over. Notice on the bezel that you can see the arrow, but when I go over the actual screen, much like on one of the other ones, the cursor disappears. So anywhere's on here until I get to this other bezel. till I get to this other bezel. Now I see the arrow again. But anywhere's in the middle, there's no cursor. So if there's no cursor, of course you're not going to be able to click on anything. So, and it just disappears. So, but like I said, this aircraft does not attest to being, to support VR. So legitimately, you wouldn't expect anything to work in here. Planes that attest to support VR, and if you're going to put an EFB in them, it should function with VR controllers and with the VR mouse cursor. They're both supported by X-Plane. They should be supported in the aircraft. So I think that's all I want. I wanted to go over just another just thing that I noticed. Let me go here. So here's a problem, especially in VR. I think it's in 2D too. You can barely see these icons up here. We kind of need, as far as I'm concerned, this grade, this kind of translucent window, that needs to go clear to the top. In the same way as this window, that needs to go clear to the top. There shouldn't be just open space up here. This translucent window, that should go clear to the top of the screen here. And if it was to the top of the screen, notice that's a white text, so is the aircraft. If this was behind that, you would have the trying to think of the word. It would basically allow it to be displayed. Contrast, sorry. You know, it would have the contrast that so you could see it much easier than you can. You know, this is white text. You know, that's white text. That's white text. They're easily readable. That's not, and it's because of the picture. It's a light picture. But my point is that I don't care what picture I put in here. I want this to be readable, and if you extend these windows up like that, this window up like that, then that would make that happen. So I think that's all. So once again, let me so about X-Plane. So we are in X-Plane 12.1.0 beta 4, and so I just wanted to make sure that before I got done here, you know, so I know, you know, so basically this video is about the current status of EFBs in VR, and of all of the planes that I have installed on the version of beta 4 that I'm testing. So, and just out of curiosity, graphics. So I'm running a big screen beyond, probably obvious from the picture. And kind of this is where my graphics are. So all these are shoved up. Anti-aliasing I turned to none. So what I did is instead I turned my my graphics settings up on my big screen. So right now I'm rendering 2980 by 2980. Native is 2560. So I'm about 500 res on each side more. And so what it does is it makes the image sharper. So it's kind of like anti-aliasing, but in a different way. And so cloud high, I just have the shadow quality to bottom. Almost up, but I just leave it here. Maximum, I want to see the houses and all that good stuff. Vegetation in the middle. And because I'm on an NVIDIA card, I'm on a 4090. That's grayed out on beta 4. And I don't draw parked aircraft. I just don't. It doesn't match how I fly airplanes. So done. Alrighty. And so let me go back. So we're in where I took this video, where I'm at right now is in Mexico, and in total Mexico. So I've been doing flights in Mexico, and today, instead of streaming, I decided to do this. So thanks for watching. This is going to go up on YouTube, and I just kind of wanted to, I've been meaning to do this for a while, and I just wanted to show the current status of EFBs in VR. And since I don't use them, I hadn't looked for a while, but Ben had reached out to me and asked me about a couple of aircraft, and I had one. I actually had two. I had the Tolus, and I had the Honda Jet, and the 550, and so I tested them and was kind of surprised what I found, and then I tested more. So thanks for watching. Y'all have a great day. We'll see you later.